And the sign of the Abrahamic covenant is circumcision. And God said to Abraham, thou shalt keep my covenant, therefore, thou and thy seed after thee in their generation. This is my covenant, which ye shall keep between me and you and thy seed after thee. Here's the covenant. Every man-child among you shall be circumcised. That's the sign of the covenant, circumcision of male children. Now, the modern teaching by many is that water baptism takes the place of this circumcision, the covenant. And some of you up north are acquainted with what they call covenant theologians and covenant churches. And down south we don't have very many of them, but up north a lot of Reformed Christian and Reformed brethren and Reformed and Dutch Reformed and German Reformed and Christian Reformed. And then down south, of course, the old Presbyterian church is supposed to be that. And here's the teaching. The teaching is in the Old Testament, the sign that you're the chosen seed and therefore you enter into a covenant relationship with God is circumcision. Therefore, water baptism in the New Testament takes that place. Therefore, if you sprinkle the baby, that's a sign the baby is in the covenant and has made a covenant with God, and thereby the baby is bound to get saved. Now, that overlooks a couple of terrible things. And the first one is this, in Matthew, it overlooks the fact that you can be a covenant child in covenant relationship with God and go to hell. Come to Matthew, and Matthew, pick up Matthew chapter, I think it's 8. Matthew chapter 8, verse 11. Now these are the circumcised descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but they're not saved. Matthew 8:11, and I say to you that many shall come from the east and west and sit down with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the children of the kingdom shall be cast out of darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Those, the covenant circumcised children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they go to hell. So the sign of the covenant doesn't guarantee anything. If baptism were the sign of the covenant, it wouldn't guarantee anything. All right, Luke 16. Here's another case of it. And you may be wondering about the terminology here. But look in Luke 16 what's going on with this fellow in hell. Luke 16:25. Here's the fellow in hell tormented in the flame. And Luke 16:25. And Abraham said, Son, see that? There's a child of the covenant, one of Abraham's sons. Abraham said, Son, fellow's in hell. So that's a bad error to think that the sign of the covenant does anything for you. The sign of the covenant doesn't do anything for you. Now the next bad mistake about it is that if water baptism is the sign of the covenant that puts you in a covenant relationship with God, then all you ladies are predestinated to go to hell. Because circumcision is a male operation. Now the next thing wrong with it is come to Romans chapter 4. People just don't think. They just go charging in there, you know. I mean, that sounds funny to you and you think about it. It isn't funny to any Catholic priest in this town. He believes it, you see. I mean, any Presbyterian preacher. Go down and ask the guy McElwain Presbyterian to get his theology straightened out, you know. It's all. There you go. There you go. Sure, man. They're a bunch of baby sprinklers. When you get right down to it, the thing that marks the Baptist out, the main thing is that thing on infant baptism. That's the main thing. A real Baptist will not baptize a baby, and he will not baptize a man until the man says he's saved. And if the Charismatics and Church of God and Pentecostal and Church of Christ picked that up, they got that from the Baptists. Because the Baptists were doing that 700 years before there was any Pentecostals or Charismatics. And the more I study church history, and I've been doing a lot of digging lately, I got some rare stuff, man. I was up in Cincinnati, and I got me a book published in 1675. It's by a fellow named Thomas Moreland, and it's called The Churches of the Piedmont Valley. And that thing is the history of the Waldensian churches in the Piedmont between 11 and 12 and 13 and 1400 and 1100. 1100. That's 400 years before Martin Luther was born. Those birds are saying that baptism is only a figure of salvation, that a man is saved by grace through faith and justified by the finished work of Jesus Christ. Those birds have got all the stuff from the Protestant Reformation 400 years before it ever shows up. They're baptizing nobody but adult believers. Nobody. And the longer you look at that thing, it tend to make you kind of Baptistic. All right, now come to Romans chapter 4. And Romans chapter 4, notice 11. That circumcision is said to be a sign. Now who seeks for a sign? The Jews. You never read anywhere in your Bible that water baptism was a sign. Turn to Mark 16. Water baptism is a figure, but never a sign. Mark 16, as a matter of fact, it's excluded from the signs in Mark 16. In Mark 16, verse 16. In Mark 16:16, he that believeth and is baptized shall be saved, he that believeth not shall be damned, and these signs shall follow. Then water baptism is not a sign. The signs follow water baptism. All right, back to Genesis 17. Then you can't make baptism a replacement for circumcision any way.